Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in for another uplifting conversation from the Heart of Oneness Network channel. My name is K&A, co-founder of the Heart of Oneness Holistic Expo, and today I am joined with fellow co-host Matt Riley. The purpose and intention of this channel is to connect hearts far and wide and to offer up a container of spiritual enlightenment that supports you on your path of self-discovery and awareness. Our desire is that you leave this place feeling uplifted, inspired, and expansive. Today, we are overjoyed and honored to welcome crystal intuitive, spirit messenger, and energy healer, Cheryl Giannelli of Peace and Laughter, located in Northern Virginia. As a crystal intuitive, Cheryl is able to tap into the spirit of crystals and is able to communicate with them. She says this relationship comes from a deep place of inner trust of the power of crystals. As a spirit messenger, she finds great comfort in being able to communicate with and offer messages from the angelic realms, spirit guides, and even deceased loved ones, which brings much comfort and peace to those seeking guidance. As an energy healer, she brings harmony and balance to the mind, body, and spirit, with modalities such as Reiki, sound therapy, and crystal energy. So Cheryl, Matt and I are so grateful to have you here with us today and our viewers. We know you have a wealth of wisdom and knowledge to share with us all, so we are super excited to dive in with you today.
Well, I am just so grateful and so appreciative to both of you to allow me the opportunity and this time that we can come together and talk and explore and share. So thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. Before we even get into anything, I think, I want to share with you just, how kind of instrumental you were to Matt and I when we did our very first show in Freehold. I believe that's where we actually met for the first time. And was it the second show, hon?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was the second show. We actually met I was supposed to do the first show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember, and it was funny too, because I just I came across it and I can't even tell you, just, divinely sent. And unfortunately, I think I was sick right before that. And I had to, unfortunately, step out. But then we met each other actually in person in Philadelphia before the show. At one of the other expos, you and
we met
Matt and your daughter were all there, and that was the first time we face to face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yes.
What show was that?
It was out in
that was the
Oaks.
The Empowered Light. Oaks. Yeah. I'm sorry, Oaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was an Empowered Light. We went out to
yes,
them,
and it was an
Cheryl.
Immediate I just love these guys. I was just like, yes, it was so great. And then I was so looking forward to, so then I was able to do then your second show in person.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
oh my gosh. It seems like yesterday, and yet it seems like a lifetime ago, because so much has changed since then. It's just incredible. Yeah. But I guess I want to take you back, if you will.
Please
take us back with you to the beginning, because I know on your website you talk a little bit about how you've always kind of been sensitive and empathic. So I guess I wanted to start there. If you want to share, when did you first recognize that you had these sensitivities and your empathetic nature, and then of course your intuitive abilities? Obviously, it's something that you always had as a young child.
So it was always something I had as a young child, but didn't understand it. Right. So I was always the individual who loved to go to music or go to concerts and things like that. But boy, put me around a lot of people and I was exhausted for days after. Or I used to always think, what people used to joke about, like elevators. You go into an elevator and you're like, oh, please step away. But I realized for me, those were super strong and very sensitive for me. And to be in really large groups or large crowds of people, I always really just thought it was, it was something maybe I just didn't feel comfortable doing. It wasn't that I was so in tune to really understand that I was really picking up on everything else that was happening with the others that I was amongst, and I could walk into different rooms and, so to speak, feel the temperature of the room, but again, didn't really understand any of that. And, my parents were wonderful and very, open individuals, but I didn't really have anyone that I could talk to about it. So, growing up, there was just a lot of always a knowing. I always knew things, but never understood why I knew them. I could sense a lot of different things, but again, when you don't have anyone to really communicate or ask about it, you just, people would give you that term. Oh, I hate that term, but I'm going to use it anyway. You're so sensitive,
Yeah.
right? You're so sensitive. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So you become labeled sometimes when we are really intuitive or actually empathetic, or again, all these other things, we become sensitive,
Yeah.
and what we're doing is really picking up on everything else that's kind of going on around us, sometimes without even picking up on our own emotions themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
So for me, it was a lot of questioning for quite a bit of time, and then not until I went on my spiritual journey did it all really start to make sense for me.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I know, so were you always connected to crystals? Is that something that came a little bit later on in your journey? I know, you were in corporate America for
Mm-hmm.
years,
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of how, like for so many of us, we find ourselves there and then we reach that next aha moment where you're like looking at your life and saying, well, what am I doing? This
Yes.
doesn't necessarily feel so fulfilling anymore. So what was that like for you? Did
So
you?
actually, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, don't be. Go ahead.
So for me, when I was younger, my dad was he loved geology, and he would go on these different digs. And so I would join along with it. And I was always really just fascinated by it. And of course, remember almost all of the souvenir shops, there'd be that big humongous bowl of all the different crystals and stones, and you could pick through all the different ones. And I was always at that area, picking through that piece of it. And then also, big part of my growing up, we would go to the Chesapeake Bay area, and there's they call this scientific cliffs, and we would go looking for shark teeth and other fossils and things like that. So I was always really fascinated by them, and I was definitely that child, and still the adult, who would see this stone on the ground and just have to adopt it. I'd have to just bring it home with me. Matter of fact, I did it even just a couple of days ago on a walk with Charlie. I walked by and there was this stone just laying there, and it just kind of called to me, and I was like, okay. So I picked it up and put it in my pocket and brought it home, But so there was that attraction that was just always there, with it. Fast forwarding, never had any idea that that was where things were going to go, as to where they are now. So really they've always been a part of my life. I always appreciated them, but never really looked into anything behind that other than I'm just attracted to this stone. I like it. I like the way they feel. I like the way
Right,
I feel. It was all of those type of emotions that were evoked for me.
right, right.
Yeah.
So would you say that there was like one particular moment that just kind of sticks out from the rest where you made and knew rather felt that inner calling to start doing Reiki and alternative medicine, if you will, for lack of better words, but going into a more holistic approach with your life? Was there like, where were you? And kind of just share with us a little bit, like what kind of led you and opened up that path to peace and laughter?
Yep. So for me, it was probably about 10 years ago, and I decided I was going to go on a spiritual journey. But I really didn't quite understand even what that meant at the time. But I kept using that same term. I'm going to go on a spiritual journey. And again, didn't quite know where to start. At that time, didn't necessarily, again, have many friends that were following along that path or in that path that I knew of or was aware of. And so I literally sat down and went on to Meetup, you may be familiar with them, and just typed in metaphysics. And so I'm looking at some of the different events that are coming up, and I see one with this woman's picture at it, and I'm like, I work with her. She works just down the hallway. And I thought, wow, all this time, Tracy and I would always just, casually, hi, how are you, in the hallways, and never really chatted about anything in particular at that time. And so I sent her a message and I said, I see you're doing this. Can I come? And she's like, yeah, that would be great. And I think my first class was a pendulum class, and from there, boy, once you open up that door, whatever you want to call it, or say, I'm going to go on a journey, the universe, I always say, just conspires, right? Next, I'm getting all chills as I'm saying it. And next thing I know, it's, Tracy's introducing me to people. We forged this, soul bond that we always had, but didn't know. And I'm just all of a sudden meeting people, and everything's just coming forward. And all of a sudden, all the dots are all of a sudden connecting, like we were talking about before, all the empath and the knowing and all of those pieces, they just started to unfold. And then I'm certain I must have been a researcher or a librarian in another life, because I just couldn't get enough information. Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to more people. I wanted to learn more. And this whole other side of me that I think had always been kind of kept a little buried just emerged. Right. And then again, it's like my life just filled so differently with this understanding of who I was. And and then really peace and laughter, it just had to come out. I think there was just, it was already, again, it was there. They were just waiting for me to get to that point of being able to do it, because I started to realize I was already doing so much of it in the work I was doing. I was a consultant. I was doing recruiting. So I would go to different companies for periods of time. And it would drive the managers nuts because I kind of always knew who was going to get the job, or, I always did. They'd be like, "Can you show me more people?" And I'm like, "You don't need to see more people. That's a person." Like, "Well, how do you know?" I'm like, I don't know. I just know, And so it was just, so I was using so much of that tool already, the intuitive side, like as we all do in the work that I was doing, but Reiki and some of the other aspects of it, they kind of just unfolded. To be honest with you, I actually started out with spiritual healing first, taking this certification in that, because I thought Reiki didn't necessarily at the time had a draw for me. But once I understood the spiritual healing, which was really going higher and completely stepping away from everything, no movement around the table or doing any of that, then I had a desire, let me learn Reiki, and I did. And then for me, I've always told people I love Reiki in the sense of, I love energy, working with energy, playing with energy, just that movement and the touch and the feel, and then being able to add some other modalities to it. So really trusting what's happening, during the session itself. So it just came. I wish I could say, this is my timeline. This is how things happen. It all just evolved, and people just kind of kept coming into play. Just like how you were saying, to be connected to you two. I believe, the universe divinely connects.
Absolutely. Yeah, we agree. Yeah, I agree. And I love, Matt, I know you have something to share with Cheryl, I'm sure, but I know just to kind of see the similarities, with just the high level of like intuitiveness and empathy. I love how you said that you just kind of got filled with something that was so much more and so different. And I think that's the one thing that we all all of us that do the work really start to experience. And I think it's a beautiful thing to just keep reiterating to people who perhaps haven't had that experience yet, because it's like this emptying and then this beautiful fill of something else.
It
Right?
is. So much so. And, and I also tell people, find yourself, where you're at in that moment, because people are like, oh, I want to do what you're doing. And then sometimes we sit back and we start talking to them and they realize, you know what, you are doing it. You're just doing it in a different way. Maybe you don't have your business name, but you know what, you're doing that in the work that you're already doing. Right. And again, I think when it's ready to come, whether, I know some people that right away, they start out and at 2 or 3 years old and they're doing this all their life, right? And then we find out that if we start a little bit later in life, again, we look back and realize, wow, I was already doing this. I just had my journey and my life I had to live to get to where I was,
100%.
and I'm really fortunate in that, my husband, I will joke and say, bless him, because I wasn't talking to, transitioned loved ones when we first met. So I give him a lot of credit because he's a big part of my journey. And I remember one of the shows that I was at, it was one of my first ones, and he was standing to the side near the end and he was watching me interact with individuals. And at the end, he comes up to me and he goes, "You have got to do this." He goes, "This is what you are exactly meant to do." He's like, I'm seeing this is a whole different person. And even my daughter, one time, she sat with me and helped me, same thing, at a show. And at the end of the show, she gives me this big hug and I'm going to cry. She's like, "Mom, I am so proud of you." She's like, she goes, "People were just, they couldn't get enough of listening to you or talking to you." And I thought, wow, okay, I'm on my way. And do we have questions about it? Of course we do. There's times we fall off that
100%.
horse, or so to speak, and
100%
question ourselves. So, yeah.
So Cheryl, how do you think as your spirituality grew, how do you think it benefited you in your corporate career?
So in my corporate career, it was very interesting because it really helped to secure what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was understanding. Now, I stepped out of the corporate side about 3 years ago, and that even itself was its own path, its own journey, because I kept thinking, this is where I wanted to move into. This is what I wanted to do. So I literally went from my contract was ending and I thought for certain I'm stepping into 100% peace and laughter, right? The name of my business and what I was doing. Well, sure enough, I interestingly get a message from somebody that I had worked for in the past who said, "Hey, are you working now? Do you have a contract?" And I'm like, "No, I'm done." So I call him up and I was like, what's happening? And he's like, and literally my contract had just finished the day before. I'm thinking, this is it. I'm done. Right.
Wow.
And he starts talking to me and he goes, "So I'm just wondering, we have a need, love to have you back, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm like, "No, I'm done." And then he starts talking about, well, we could do this. And next thing you know, he's making this very generous offer. And let's start you full time as a consultant again. And then we could probably go part time. And I'm thinking, well, once again, I need to trust the universe, right? And so I did. Well, you know what? Beneficially, I was able to utilize that income to then build out my space, in the home and do lots of other things. And then, you know what? The job went to part-time. And then all of a sudden they said, "We don't think we can keep you on any longer." And I said, "I know. You're right."
Oh, I just got chills when you said that.
I know.
Truth. Wow.
It was done. But then I'll also tell you another story when I had a question about it, going back to what you're asking about the corporate life. So when I was, again, fully into my work and doing what I was doing, all of a sudden my computer crashed on me. So I did what all good metaphysical people do. I'm calling in Ganesh and Archangel Michael and all of them to fix my computer. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you need a technical person. So I call up somebody and he has my computer and he reaches out to me and he says, it's the hard drive. And I'm thinking, oh, this isn't the perfect time to be buying a computer, right? We want to choose to invest that money, not to have to invest that money. So I remember texting a friend and I'm looking at my phone and I'm texting this person and it just is like a, hey, how are you type thing. I hit send. I look down and the person it got sent to was the individual that I would have reached out to if I wanted to get another contract again.
Oh, wow.
And he reaches out to me and he said, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, it's good. How are you? And he goes, oh, we're so busy. And I thought right then and there, the universe is giving me that opportunity. You can either say, do you need some help or not? Right. And I literally heard, just wait. And I just put my phone down, walked away. Within a half an hour, I get a call back saying, your computer's all fixed, got it ready whenever you want to pick it up.
Wow.
But again, that the universe said, what do you want to do? You can go back and we'll get the contract and you can do what you need to do.
Wow. Trust in that inside voice.
Trust in that inside voice.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's profound. That is quite profound.
That's a great message for anybody that's going to listen to this, because the more you trust yourself inside, the more guidance you get. It's when you get these outside influences or your ego gets in the way, that's when you start to make decisions that sometimes don't help you in the long run.
Yeah. And this is not easy. I mean, I think we can all agree to that. It's still a business, right? This is a business, even though it's a spiritual business or whatever you're doing. And that also becomes a little bit of a question too. And sometimes a struggle internally is that, am I truly running a business or am I just doing something that I really love? Right. For me, a lot of what I do goes back into my business.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of patience that goes along with it too.
But it's a lot of joy. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're joyous at what you're doing, it's not work, as they say, but that's the true factor. It's
effortless. It's for me, parts of it are effortless. And I pinch myself sometimes.
Yeah. It's the same with us. I mean, when we do the shows, we love doing it together. And for us, nights and weekends, it's a joy. It's truly a joy. When we're in the car running around putting out flyers or working late at night, it's truly a labor of love. And it just gives me goosebumps now just thinking about it, because it's such a joy to do all this and bring all this together and see everybody so happy. And, to touch on your point earlier, I was the same as you growing up. I was very empathic, very sensitive. I was known as, that's very sensitive, middle child syndrome, which called it all. Right? I was very sensitive, didn't know what it was. And then I struggled a lot of my life until, K&A and we got married. We've been married almost 17, 18 years now.
Oh my gosh,
and
congratulations.
About 10 years ago, we started to evolve and we've gotten to this point, and I've realized, what the sensitivities are. So now I'm more comfortable going in public. I tell people all the time, I never liked going to concerts, shows, anything because of that same feeling. Felt pulled. We did our first show in Freehold, and at one point we probably had about 600 people in that room, and I was never more comfortable in my life because of the energies. And it just freed me from so much, because it was like you realize when that light bulb goes off and it clicks, that you realize what you're feeling and you're conscious about how you're feeling at all times. It truly just frees you and empowers you.
It does. It's such a beautiful thing when it does happen, because again, it's like, and you start to realize, more of that just starts coming to you. There's this woman I follow and I love what she says. She's always like, thank you, universe, one more, please. And you're like,
I love that.
Isn't that awesome? Because you're like, when you're in that moment, you're like, oh, thank you. And again, when we say the word term universe, it's whoever that is, a divine, God, angels, whatever the universe is to you or to that individual, right? But I love that. Thank you, universe. One more, please. And it's like, okay. And I believe that there's this amazing angel logistical team that they'll never allow me on it because logisticals are not my focus. But I believe that there's this amazing team that is up there, and they're like, okay, here comes Matt, and this is their thing, and this is what they're going to do, and this is what's going to happen, and oh my gosh, 600, 800, 1,000 people are just going to be attracted to it, and there's this amazing team that puts it all together and makes it happen the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely love that. You know, I have to take a moment and just share this that I have with me today. So I have to be honest. I believe I got this beautiful crystal wand from you, energy wand, at that show, possibly that we met at. I don't recall exactly.
Yep. We
but
did.
I'm not sure if you can see, Cheryl. I just want to try to see if people can see all the gorgeous gemstones in here. And I believe there's selenite, and there's peridot, and there's citrine. And this, I believe, was like all about goddess empowerment and stuff.
Yes,
so
I think that was the divine feminine energy.
Yes, it was. And I keep it with me in my office. It's with me all the time. So I'm bringing this out and sharing it with everybody so you could just share your beautiful energy of the crystal wands, talk a little bit about that, and obviously some of the other beautiful services you offer, Reiki, the whole kit and caboodle. But
oh goodness, well, thank you. So the wands, wow. So I started making them back in 2016. And I'm very transparent about them. I was actually gifted by the same person I mentioned a little bit ago, Tracy. I was gifted one of the beautiful bottles that started out several years ago. I think they were one of the first ones to start, and they had some of their crystal pods in the bottom of it, and you would change the pods out, right?
Oh, okay.
And I enjoyed the bottle and really liked it. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, kind of finish with this particular pod, so to speak. And then I thought, I looked into them, and they had some handfuls of different ones. And if I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, there was a little bit of quite a bit of a cost that went along with changing them out or doing something different. So I literally went into a meditation. I'm holding that bottle, and I was like, okay, show me something similar, but along the lines of a little different, but not just in a bottle format. And so that's literally how they came about, because I wanted something that was to be in glass. Glass was important. This is, one of the ones here. But I wanted there to be a different functionality also that went along with it. And so they went in with the thought process of that you could use them in different vials or different containers, and add your drinking, whether it was your water. Water works wonderfully with them because we can program water so quickly and so easily. And since we're primarily made, of water too, but that you could use it into, a cup or a container or different ways, or a picture of it. But then you can also lay them on the body. Okay, you can hold on to them for insight or inspiration. You can have them, as you're saying, like in your surroundings, in your office, because they work just like a regular crystal, right? They emanate their energy. They work off of a vibration. So you have the visual aspect of it. For those that feel, they can feel the energy from them. But they're also a wonderful spiritual tool, right? So you can use them to clear your energy. I will use them if I maybe do a home clearing or a space clearing, just like kind of scooping the energy out. Beautiful. If somebody comes to me for energy work, I will lay these on the body. I might have them hold them in different parts of the hand. Now they're all based on different intentions. So when I focus on them, I focus with an intention in mind, normally, because sometimes I really don't know the direction that it's going. I may hear that, okay, we're sitting down and this is going to have Amazonite in it, and it's going to have this in it and that in it, and I'm creating something, and then what it appears to be comes to me later, or it'll be that I know I want to make one and I'll start to, work on it, or, and sometimes it's a matter of the knowing the information that comes through. Sometimes it's a matter that I turn to one of my books and just say, I need this. What is a missing piece, for
Absolutely.
it? So now I probably have, and they'll change out. I have, a little over 50 of them. And sometimes, we need to clear space for a new one to come in. Sometimes I'm making a label and the name will just change. Sometimes I'm making,
yeah, I love it. Yeah.
making that wand again. And all of a sudden it's like, no, no longer using green aventurine.
Switch up.
Switch it to this. And then I'll get people go, is that still the same one? And I'm like, it is. And
Yeah.
it's just something shifted in it. And I also tell people, just like the one you have, even though it's under divine feminine energy, you can program that, right? You can say, you know what, this wand, I'm really connected with it, but I'm now going to focus on this with that. Right. And that's going to be my wand that portrays something different to me. Or I tell people, look up the different crystals in it and see what it speaks to you.
Yeah.
And I also,
sorry.
Oh, no, please go ahead. I can talk about it for a long time.
Yeah, no, I was going to share that too, that, just like with crystals, sometimes you find yourself really working with them so closely for a period of time. And then you get that knowing, that message, that guidance that's like, okay, we're going to leave this here for now. And then you don't go back to it again. So it's I know with your work with crystals, it just becomes such a fluid relationship and expansion of consciousness, within yourself, with these beautiful expressions of energy that, that we are so gifted to work with. So it's incredible to kind of just watch the process. And I kind of get that feeling with your wands that it is, sometimes they come in so very closely, and then it's like, okay, maybe you need another wand, right, to help you energetically with something else. Like, do you find that with your clients?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have individuals that have one, they love that one, but then it's funny because those individuals that will choose to get a couple of them are the ones that have multiple ones, because they realize, there's some times where it's like, I'm working on this, or maybe in the morning I need my extra boost of energy, so I might use that wand. Maybe at night I'm going to switch over to this. Maybe like you said, I don't use them for quite some time. I actually got this beautiful message from somebody that I met back in 2018 at a show in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. And she sent me this wonderful message on Instagram and said, I bought these great wands for you. That's been over a year and a half ago. They literally just showed back up in my life all over again.
Right.
And now she goes, I'm using them in so many different ways.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was so exciting to hear. So I have people that have been with me since 2016. I have some that I just don't even know how many they have, and a lot of them, again, it's like, for them, it's the crystal idea that they love that grouping of crystals, and they'll work with the wands in the different ways. Like, we may just grab a citrine for the day, right? In one instance, you can grab the wand and work with that wand. So, and they evolve and they change too. Like I said, the wands and how I use them and what I'm doing with them myself. And I hear so much more from other people, and how they use them all the time. So,
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
And that was also part of, that was also part of I think when I got from them, was also being able to keep the price point in a way that people could have multiple ones if they wanted to.
Right.
So.
And not to mention, everyone, that they're so incredibly beautiful to look at. It's not only the feel, it's like this whole multi experience, really. The feel, the touch, the look, the weight of them sometimes, right? So each wand energetically feels different in its
so
weight
different
because of the energy, right?
It's
Yeah.
amazing sometimes, even for myself, like where, I'm working on one and I'm, one that's maybe a grounding one. It's not that the stones are any different in it, but it may feel a little bit more heavier where, say you hold my Mother Mary wand, which is all about love and light, and it just feels so light. It feels like you're not holding anything in your hand. But this emotion that it evokes from it is it's amazing. I even, again, for myself, yeah, again, it's just pinching. I kind of have to pinch myself because to think that, and I feel so fortunate to be able to do this and to be able to continue to do it and just love doing them, and it is all me. It's all, deciding what I'm doing and packaging them and making the labels and laminating and all the fun, glorious things that go along with it. So
I love it.
It's great. Yeah. I mean, I actually just created a really great wand for a store out in South Dakota I'm very excited about. She runs what's called peacekeeping circles, which is kind of very new and something I'm very interested in learning more about. But for her, I created a talking stick. And it is a 8-inch wand. And what I did was I pulled together the crystals that would work well in what's called a peacekeeping circle. And for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. And then again, all of a sudden, as you talk about evolving a moment ago, like you said, Matt and Karen, is that all of a sudden it evolved and I started, the Spirit started showing me, well, you can make this talking stick for this. And I was with somebody who was a licensed counselor yesterday, a good friend of mine, and I showed it to her and I said, could you imagine using this with your clients? And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, I think it would be great. She said she works with trauma individuals. And she said for them to hold on to something and see it and again, visualize. And so who knows, might have a whole nother thing, kind of another direction of going in. So
that is so exciting. That is so exciting to hear, Cheryl. Oh my God. And I have to say, like with things starting to open up a little bit, right?
Yes.
I know you're in Virginia, we're in New Jersey here. So I'm not sure state-wise, of like if we're in the same place, but I know that events are coming and they're opening. So I know you have a spot on your website where we can share with everybody your upcoming events. So if someone who's tuning in wants to check you out and connect with all of your beautiful services in person, because also you offer all of your products online. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, yes. Sometimes it's not always updated as it should be. Yes. So I have almost all the ones. There's a couple that are new ones that actually I'll be talking about tomorrow at the live show in conjunction with your holistic, with the expo that we're doing tomorrow. So I'm very excited about that. So some of the new ones will be on there. The crystal wise, I have a good portion of my crystals, but I have so many crystals. I have a full, store, so to speak, here that have all of those on. But I always tell people that I can send pictures and do things like that, and they will eventually get all online. So yes, but I have tumbles, all sorts of different things, and my services, yes, like Reiki can be in person or distance work, which distance work is so lovely. People sometimes get intimidated by the fact of something being distance, but again, it's all energy, right? And it moves and it does exactly where it needs to go. So, and readings. So I do readings and, with whether it be with the cards. I do crystal readings. Those work best when the person is with me in person. So I do see people here in Virginia. So yeah. But all that is online. Yep. At peaceandlaughter.com. And if you don't see it, just reach out.
Yes. And you're on social media, right? You're on Facebook and you're on Instagram.
Yes, I am.
Peace and Laughter. Right? So
Peace
people can tune in.
And peace.laughter on Instagram. Yes.
On Instagram. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And Matt, did you have anything that you'd like to share with Cheryl?
No, just like I said, we appreciate Cheryl. I mean, like I said, from the day we met, in the show in Oaks and then in the show in Freehold, it was a beautiful connection. And we're truly appreciative of you and all the energy you bring and all the love you bring.
Oh, thank you so much. And I feel the same about you. I think one of the great parts about all what we're doing and where I feel very connected to you guys is really in opening people up, right? Trusting who you are, trusting your intuition, and really allowing that to bloom. Okay. I think we can still be exactly the same people. We just have that opportunity to grow a little bit more and really open up those pieces of it and find those individuals. Because once we do, they will, again, as I've mentioned before, the universe, if we can't find them, the universe will help to bring them exactly to us. So
Absolutely.
trust, just trust.
Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself, Cheryl. So we thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So everyone, thank you for tuning in for this beautiful conversation and heart expansion with Cheryl Giannelli of Peace and Laughter. Please be sure to visit her website, check out her services, her beautiful offerings, and also her presence on social media. So we thank you. And from our hearts to yours, much love. And until next time, be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.